Incremental greetings. In 2025, and here it is, the almighty, the immortal SuperMemo for DOS. Yeah, it's so old that even predates Windows. I'm using an emulator to run this. In this video, I'm going to display more or less what it was, SuperMemo, the original, and you will be surprised if I tell you that is the most robust and bug-free version of SuperMemo. Even more than that, that it's the most intuitive and easy to use SuperMemo version. I will go even extra mile. That you don't even need to read a documentation in order to know how to use it. You can master this software in minutes if you want to. Crazy, right? Then it looks terrible, so I'm using the full screen, but for software limitations, I guess, you may see it in smaller. Nice. It says, are you going to initialize all database files on this disk? Type 1987 to confirm. What? So why not saying yes, okay to confirm? No, I need to type the year. Doesn't make any sense. But believe me, this is one of the very few exceptions that are counterintuitive in this version. Then, the previous versions will be deleted, files with file types different to DB will remain intact. Nice. So remember, this version was written from Piotr Wozniak in 1987, released 2 weeks after I was born, and in this year I will turn 38, so do the math. And yeah, and this version is from 1991, actually. It's actually the second version, in reality. Wow. The noise is terrible. So, you know that in SuperMemo, after a while, they released free versions, freeware versions. So that's the same as SuperMemo 2 back in today, but even better, because they have been adding more updates. So that's the menu. Test append items. What is append items? Is to create, to add new items. Present items. Search for items. Factor distribution. Daily burden. Miscellaneous. Help. And then save and quit. And you already have the stats. You know the date you start the outstanding memorized, intact, that has been lost, and total. Nice. So obviously in this recording, it's April 29th. So first, if I press T, oh my god, I don't have anything, right? It's empty. So let me go and append items. Here is how you can input items to the database. You start with the question. And do you see the mode says insert? It's not that much different of today's SuperMemo, that you have the editing mode, the drag and drop, and the presentation mode. So in this case, I will do something trivial. What is the capital of Spain? I really hate that every key press you get a sound feedback. Nice. In this version of SuperMemo, always, at all times, you have the controls. So in this case, I know I can use the cursor keys, delete, insert, home, and Control Y and enter. So those are the possible key bindings. Doesn't tell you what it does, but usually it's quite intuitive. You put and what's going to be. Nice. So you press enter. It creates a new line. That's not what I want. Okay, so I will click on insert. Do you see now you have mode override, insert, override? Cool. And also it tells me that I'm appending the number 1, the item number 1 in my collection. Now, if you press escape, finally, then is the answer, Madrid. Nice. And then I have this again to enter something else. like a new item. Usually it's because back in the day you will have a physical book and so on. Then, what is 2 plus 2? It's 4. Nice. Let's say I don't want to add more items. I press escape to exit. It was written there. Nice. So now if I press P, I can present. And basically this is like more or less what will be the browser. I can see the contents. In this case, you have to do it by the element number. Something that still exists today in SuperMemo, but is never used. So if I say 2, here you go, that's the second item. And I have the factor. That will be the A factor. It was already there. In the 80s, it was already there. Wow, oh my god. By the way, in SuperMemo 19, the A factor is close to obsolete. At least for items is obsolete already. But A, for topics, it can still be used. Wow, it was already there. Current interval, 0 days, not 1. So here, when you enter the items, they are like in new status, like in Anki, because there's no incremental reading here. 0 repetitions and 0 resets. Press C to change, and also D for delete. So you could delete items here if you wanted to. And then I can add it, if it was a typo or whatever. Nice. Then you can also search for items with S. And then it's the same as we have in modern SuperMemo. So I will say what? Oh, it's case sensitive? Oh wow, it's case sensitive. Good to know. So here I have one result. What is the capital of Spain? Cool. Then, factor distribution. I don't have anything memorized. We don't know yet. So let's do that. Let's test. Do you wish to memorize new items? Finally, a Y or an N, yes or no. Why on earth at the beginning I had to input 1987? Beyond me. Yes. So now I have the question, and half of the screen are the stats. Why on earth I want to know what I want to have the day I started the collection, taking so much space in the screen? Beyond me. What is the capital of Spain? Oh yeah, that will be Madrid. Nice. And then I input the quality of my answer, 0 to 5, same as today, by the way. 0 usually is excluded. You don't have the rating on the UI, but it's there. You can press it. So I will say 4. Nice. Then you can press escape to exit or any other key to continue. But I don't know if there are more, right? In this case there is. What is 2 plus 2? Oh, that will be, as you see now it says memorized, I have 2. 0 outstanding. Why I have 0 outstanding? Because I have created those items, but they're on the limbo, like incremental reading. So they're not outstanding or scheduled. I have to do manually the first repetition. This is equivalent as if you create the item in the pending status by default. So then I answer, and let's say, oh, I forgot that. For the sake of the example, I will lapse. Number 2. Nice. And there's nothing else. And what is this? Repeating items with answer quality lower than 4. That is the final drill. Usually it's 3 or greater. You could express it as less than 4. Here you go. So now I started already the repetitory test. What is repetitory test? What is this wording? So basically, the repetitory test is the final drill. Do you see now it's outstanding? Why it's outstanding? I have done the repetition. It should be scheduled for tomorrow at the very least, or even if I lapsed. So I have, yes, total 2 items. Both are memorized. and only one is outstanding. So this one that I failed is outstanding. So that's the difference. When you lapse an item into SuperMemo 2, it is considered outstanding. Then if I rate, let's say 0, I will see it again because it's still on the repetitory test or final drill, and it will be there until I rate 4 or 5, which I will do now. Oh, if you do a white space, it doesn't understand. Nice, and it quits right away. So now let's see the factor distribution. Here you go. Look at that. I have to number two flashcards 100%. In this case, it's very it's not that useful. But do you see the range? By default, it's 2.5, 2.5. What Anki have used for many years because it was based with SM2. And it starts with 0. It starts with 1, which is the minimum. And I don't know how high it could go, but it could go theoretically through 6.9, I imagine. Nice. Daily burden. It's the same. It's like now it's called calendar. In the calendar you can see each day. So tomorrow, so the both items I have done today are scheduled for tomorrow. Then the date doesn't work. I'm guessing because it was like the year 2000 effect of the software, that it was not meant to have years beyond 99. So 1999. So everything is in question mark. But it still works. And I can navigate that. How cool is that? It's the same as today. The only thing is that I can only see the items repetitions scheduled. Unlike today, that I can go the consolidation, items and topics that I did. So the repetitions I actually did, or the ones that were scheduled, and so on. And you can also do page up, page down. It tells you every single window the key bindings. It's so easy, it's so limited. There's so few things I can do that it fits in one sentence. So if I do it like this, it's one by one with the arrow. If I do page up, it's by 33, by 10 or 9. Nice. Then we have miscellaneous. Then it's random test. These already existed. It will create any random test. Now it's useless because I only have 2 items, but if I have had many, regardless if it's outstanding or whatever, I will see it. Read question, try to answer, then press any key. I still press the space bar because I'm used to this flow. But you see the title is not repetitory, it was repetitory, something like that, test. Now it's random test. These already existed. And then there's the only one because the collection only has 2 items. So that's it. Nice. Then compress files, because back on the day the storage was heavily limited. Enter the path to directory. I'm not going to use this. You also have initial disk initialization. This is what you see the first time you run SuperMemo. I couldn't get that because I was testing how it was recording. By the way, I cannot see myself what I'm recording. I'm doing this blind because when it goes full screen, the DOS, I cannot see Windows. So that's the message. Hey, lucky you! Got your hand on the breakthrough learning technology at last. SuperMemo software is there and running for you, turning a new chapter in development of your brain powers. This little piece of code you're dealing with has a true taste of historic shake-up in educational strategies all over the globe. Have a look how it all started in Poland in 1982. I was not born yet. That has been 43 years ago. An assuming student, Piotr Wozniak, of chemistry, decided to make use of his knowledge of molecular neurobiology and improve his ability to remember all what he needed to pass his examinations. Yes, SuperMemo started as a cramming tool, sadly. Upon a series of most simple experiments, he developed a technique that allowed the SuperMemo method, that allowed him to learn several times faster than before. Not being aware of the importance of his findings, a big deal, he continued using the technique until 1987, when he implemented a simple computer program, SuperMemo 1, allowing him to make his work yet more efficient. Amazed with the effectiveness of his method, he shared his software with colleagues in the field, and soon all members of his department were tipping away for hours, virtually addicted to the new method of learning. Someone proposed the name of SuperMemo, and thus the genius child of a Polish student was baptized. And yet, Piotr Wozniak didn't name SuperMemo like this, SuperMemo, but I will put it on the screen because I forgot, but it was an absurd name, like super memorization test, something that is not fancy. Then the second screen, then the true turn happened when our young inventor met a representative of the company that, upon recognizing the one-in-a-lifetime opportunity, soon assumed that the name SuperMemo World, they added the world, and devoted its effort entirely to making SuperMemo the world's best buy in educational software. And by the way, still today, they are the oldest e-learning company. There are some other companies even older, but they folded. They don't exist anymore. I have a video on that, by the way, if you're curious. In SuperMemo World, we presented the SuperMemo method, more or less space repetition, the original flavor, to the hands of experts in software engineering, database management, optimization techniques, etc. And soon the clumsy scooter was turned into a supersonic jet. It doesn't stretch, but I get what they mean. In order to meet the huge and increasing interest in the SuperMemo method, SuperMemo World decided to issue a simple shareware version of SuperMemo, what I'm running now. The shareware, actually SuperMemo 2, it's a non-invasive adaptation of the original and now historic SuperMemo program written by the inventor of the method in 1987. During late in the year, November and December. Then, the only changes in this version made are adding the advertising information, including the presented text, and correcting minor software bugs and English messages. So some typo, or how it was written was not clear enough, and so on. So it's actually better than the original. Nice. Do you see now it says June 1st, 1991? It's the date SuperMemo World company was founded. No, it was July 5th. Thus, at no charge, free for everyone. And by the way, usually SuperMemo releases the third version older for free as a freeware. So when the 18 version was out, the 15 was freeware. Now that the 19 version is out, you have the 16 for free. So when SuperMemo 20 is out, SuperMemo 17 will be freeware. Then, thus, at no charge, you and your colleagues can have a look at this humble program that was written without ever foreseeing the revolution it was to bring only a few years later. And imagine now, 4 decades later, how many people use space repetition or benefit of a space repetition at some degree. Millions. And I hope in the future, it's virtually everyone, at least everyone in the first world countries, they will use space repetition. Because it's the best thing. Obviously, you will soon wish to have your professional versions of SuperMemo. You can order them from SuperMemo World today. Not anymore, now it's a different website. By the way, link in the description if you want 10% off. For more information, see the files accompanying SuperMemo 2 shareware. In SuperMemo World, We're committed to making SuperMemo techniques available in each and every country of this planet. It's a good mission. For those who have and those who have not access to technological boons of the modern civilization, remember that in the 90s, early 90s, not many people had a computer at home. Then, any financial contribution to the noble cause is wholeheartedly welcome, and SuperMemo World vows to spend all contributed resources exclusively on the cause of better education for everybody in the 21st century. SuperMemo World, something I cannot pronounce, it's the address, from Poznan, Poland. I wonder if this phone still exists. I'm pretty sure they have changed how the number works. Nice! And then here you go again. Input any number unlike 1987 to avoid initialization. So I will put 2025 to commemorate the current year. Nice. Then sound off and on. So finally, no more sound because it's super tedious, this low quality sound. Then you have the info. It's what I just did. That is in the miscellaneous, sorry. And then we have the help. Cannot open SuperMem help. It's because I'm assuming this version doesn't have the file, but it was a local file basically, not on the internet. So, strictly speaking, you had official documentation how to use the software, but it's easy enough that based on the controls you can guess what you can do. So, that has been all about SuperMemo 2. It's a gem. It's a historic piece regarding learning. It created a before and after, a tipping point for sure. So lucky those people who were able to use SuperMemo, spaced repetition, back in the 80s or the 90s. I was alive. I could have done that. Oh my god. So here's my token of appreciation. Better later than ever. Pretty cool to see the original. Super limited, but I mean, it's not that different from Anki. You just add items, flashcards, and review them later, using a very similar algorithm, by the way, that Anki used from the beginning, not anymore, with FSRS. And you could update this, so you keep all of the info. This is what Piotr Woźniak did. Keep all of his collection, updating each time. So what he did in the 80s, he still has it in his modern version of SuperMemo. So yeah, I feel like nostalgic without having lived that. I know it's a weird feeling. Like an induced nostalgic feeling. So long life to spaced repetition and incremental reading. That has been all for today. See you incrementally.